Hello, my dear kids. Let us continue with our English course book, Unit 1, Section 2. The topic is The Frogs in the Fountain. Let me introduce the author of The Frogs in the Fountain, Ruskin Bond. He was born on 19th May in 1934, Kasauli, Himachal Pradesh. He is an Indian author of British descent. He lives with his adopted family, Landor, Mussoorie, in India. Some of his awards are Sahitya Academic Award in 1992 for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra. In 1999, Padma Shri for Children's Literature, etc. The author shows us the story about the frogs installed in a fountain by a strand and a bit alienated woman, Granny. The main character, most likely the author, becomes quite anxious about the marigold flowers, normally grown in almost every house, which are mainly used to make garlands in somebody's name to honor them. He doesn't feel comfortable with them since a bee hidden in one of such flowers stung him. Let us begin the story. Ruskin Bond has the rare ability to see the humor in everyday situations. In this story, he provides a delightful description of a simple incident involving his aunt. Marigold grow almost everywhere in our beautiful country and they are constantly in demand at festival, marriages, religious ceremonies, arrivals and departures, and functions of all kinds. Children, as you see on your mobile screen, the marigold garlands where we are using for our marriages functions and where the author is telling the use of the marigold constantly means again and again. Let us see further in detail. If you happen to be a guest of honor on a public occasion, be prepared to be smothered in garlands of marigolds. Here in this paragraph, here is a guest of honor or public occasion to be prepared to be smothered means you will be covered with fully of marigold garlands and here I am a little wary of these welcoming garlands because on my occasion a sleeping bee nestling between the petals flew out and stung me under my chin. Here, the author is very cautious after welcoming garlands. Might be some nestling bees are hidden inside it, and it is thinking that it will be stung me under my chin. What is chin? You know that? I think you all remember your nursery rhyme. Let me revise you for it. Chubby cheeks, dimple chin, rosy lips, teeth within, curly hair, very fair. Eyes are blue, lovely too. Teacher's pet, is that you? Yes, yes, yes. Now you got what is chin. I think everyone understood what is chin. It made for a very short speech. When I asked young Gautam about this incident, he asked, is that you got your double chin? Actually, the double chin came from my grandmother, who was a large, generously proportioned lady with a number of chins. Here, when Gautam is asking that how he got his double chin, then the author is explaining that he got his double chin from his grandmother. Your generously proportioned means a very large and hefty. Hefty means fat, who has a double chin. Gautam and his sister Sistri liked to play with my double chin, but I would never have dared touch my old granny on her chin or anywhere else. Usually, if we see some fat or a little bit children who has a chubby chicks or some fat people who have double chin or chubby chicks, we like to touch them or just pull them. Here, both Gautam and his sister also used to play with it, but the author never dared to touch his granny's chin or anywhere else for his granny. She was a stern, reserved woman who believed that little boys should speak only when spoken to. Or reserved means unwilling to express emotions. Some people have the habit that the small children should not interfere in between the elder people when they are talking or doing something else. She fed us responsibly well. She kept a great khansama, but she did not believe in second helpings, with the result that I have spent the rest of my life indulging in second helpings. Here in this paragraph, Khansama means a cook. She did not believe in seconds helping, with the result that I have spent the rest of my life indulging. Here, indulging means having something you like, and she used to be keeping second helpings. Two mutton koftas were all that I was allowed with my plate of rice. I liked koftas still do, and it was painful for a small boy to have to stop at two. Now, what I am a grown up man with an independent source of income, I help myself to four. Who can stop me? See, when we are small, we are allowed to eat in limited quantity, because sometimes if you eat more, the food you like more, and you go on eating, definitely your stomach get upset and you have to face the problem. Here the author is thinking that he was stopped when he was small. He was stopped to eat koftas which he liked very much. He was stopped to eat only two. Now he himself is thinking that now I am grown up, I can eat more. He's thinking himself that he is earning the money, he is independent, no one can stop him to eat four koftas. Dr. Bist, who dropped in to see me once a year, remarked that I looked overweight and that I should cut down on my food intake. His doctor, who used to check him once a year, just remarked him after seeing him that he is looking overweight and he should cut down his food which he is eating. What did you have for lunch? He asked. Kofta curry and rice. How much rice? Just two small helpings. And how many koftas? Only four. Don't have more than two, he advised. As soon as this conversation finished, suddenly the author said, Yes, Granny, I said. Dr. Best gave me a puzzled look. Sorry, I thought you were my grandmother. As the doctor advised him to eat only two koftas, he remembered his granny or grandmother. She used to tell him when he was small to eat only two koftas. So, as soon as the doctor also said him to eat only two, he thought that he remembered his granny's words. Now he thinks I have got Alzheimer's. Your Alzheimer is a disease especially affecting older people that prevents the brain from functioning normally, causes loss of memory and the ability to speak clearly. So he thought himself that he is suffering from some disease. Talking of marigolds, Granny surrounded her house with them as she believed they kept snakes away. Here, Granny has a thought in her mind that if we grow more marigolds surrounding near our house, then it will keep the snakes away. Apparently, snakes do not like their pungent aroma. Here, pungent aroma means a strong smell. I too believed in this folklore until I was told by an expert on reptiles that snakes do not have a strong sense of smell and would be impervious to the scent of flowers or other outdoors. Here, impervious means not affected. Snakes do not have any sense of smell. Maybe so, but I don't recall ever seeing a snake in Granny's garden, although I did see them elsewhere. Even he is recalling that he has never seen a snake in Granny's garden or anywhere else near the house. However, we did have plenty of frogs thanks to the disused fountain installed by my grandfather but neglected after his death. So he's just recalling that he has never seen a snakes, but he has seen many frogs in the fountain which was installed by his grandfather. After his death, no one is there to take care about it. So children, let me stop here and continue the remaining chapter in the next session. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.